are all unique and have our own personal story. So dive in with me and let's get to know some extraordinary people. Hi guys, this week's episode is with a colleague of mine, Dorothy. We had a great conversation, extremely vulnerable, and I'm excited for you to hear what she has to say. All right. Welcome to Dive In with Amy, Dorothy.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. First of all, I'm extremely honored because you are in all the way from Washington, D.C.
Yes, I am.
Just for Dive In with Amy.
Exactly. That's the only reason why I flew in.
Exactly. Okay, so Dorothy and I have known each other for 7 years.
Yep.
We met in the corporate world and we've become friends.
Yep.
Started back in our San Francisco days. And you're a person that I don't see very often.
Nope.
But when I see you, I feel like we just pick up and we just engage in good conversation. There's some comfortable feelings there. It's just fun and you're delightful and you're just a breath of fresh air. No, I'm serious.
Thank you.
And so now that we no longer have our office in San Francisco, you live in DC and you fly into Arizona from time to time. And so I always love when Dorothy pops in my office and we have our quick chats.
I always look for you.
And I'm so flattered.
Yeah. I'm like, gotta see Amy.
Okay. And hopefully I'm there at least one day a week
Usually,
that you're in town. Okay. So we're going to dive in.
Okay.
I am going to ask you a random question. We're going to see where it goes.
All right. Did you pre-plan this or are you just thinking about it right now?
I did think about the question.
Okay, great.
I did think about the question.
Do you like brainstorm questions?
I do. I have a long list of random questions that I'm like, this is just interesting. But here's the deal. Everybody has a story. And so sometimes I'll tailor a question towards somebody and sometimes I just throw one out there. Okay. So Dorothy.
Yes.
What is the bravest thing you have ever done?
Oh dear. The bravest thing. I guess that you have to actually really think about that in context because I'm not super young. I've done a lot of stupid things.
Haven't we all?
It's hard to think about your feelings.
Yes.
And it's hard to think about what triggers you. I don't always love that word, but what sets you off and makes you feel certain things. And it's easier to ignore it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
To ignore or project your issues onto something else or someone else.
Yeah, or just do something else.
Yeah.
And I got out of a pretty crappy relationship when I was living in San Francisco. I did not have the best relationship with my family, and I went to therapy. And I think that might be the bravest thing I've done because it was hurtful. It was traumatizing at times. There were times where I would go to therapy and then call Natasha and tell her I can't come into work today because I had been crying too much.
Yeah.
But I don't regret any of it. And I think that addressing the hardships in your life and learning how to feel your feelings is something that's really brave that not everyone does.
Yeah, that is very brave. So was there a certain point where you just decided, okay, I've got to suck up the courage and go? Was there a particular event or just something that triggered you to just make that leap of faith and do it?
I had spiraled. So, oh man. So my ex was not the best person in the world. And I had the wherewithal to leave him when things got bad. And everything was great. I was, hanging out with my friends, and I had lost weight, and I was being really active and doing all these fun things. And then one day I woke up to a message from his girlfriend. Now, this is like a year and a half after we broke up, saying that she had been sleeping with him for the last 2 years of our relationship.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was a shock. I didn't think he was cheating. I knew he was a piece of shit, but I didn't think he was cheating on me. And having had walked away from that relationship on my own terms and then finding out this was...
Did it just kind of bring a lot of those emotions back to the surface and make you kind of relive?
And it also made me wonder what world I was living in that I didn't even notice this and that he had this whole relationship with this other person that he was still with.
Wow.
And then of course you start to internalize those feelings. Well, what did I do wrong? Am I fat? Am I ugly? Am I mean? Am I not lovable? And I was fighting with my family, and I was like, you know what? I can't live my life I don't want to live my life like this.
Right.
So, and then as I would, I went on like the benefits website and found out, therapists in the area. And I had my notes that I took, like, what do they focus on? What's their background? What's their availability? And then I actually called them to talk to them and gave them a brief idea of what I'm dealing with and my end goal was, and do you think you could help me? And I ended up picking this woman who I hated her website. It was all glitter and pink.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not a glitter and pink girl. And turns out I'm a little bit more of a glitter and pink girl than I thought I was.
Really?
And I loved her, and she was great.
That's interesting because I have a good friend of mine. Her husband, he's also a good friend of mine. He's a psychiatrist. And I recently, just this last year, started going to therapy myself, which...
Best idea ever.
Best thing, life-changing.
Yep.
But I remember talking to him, and he said, going to therapy is kind of like dating. You're not always going to find the right fit.
Right.
But I was so fortunate and found the perfect fit on my first date. Okay.
Oh, that's so great.
And I love her. She's fantastic. So would you say you picked the right therapist on your first date? Was this the first one?
No.
Okay.
This was the third person that I met in person. The third one I met in person. I talked on the phone I'm a researcher, guys.
Yes. We will dive into that because I want you to explain to everybody what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went and I met two therapists. I wanted a female.
Okay.
And I met two therapists, and then I finally met Jessica, and I was like, okay, you're my lady. She was missing a finger. She was missing her ring finger, which I thought was very interesting. And of course, she's my therapist, so she never got to tell me. But she had a lovely husband and two very beautiful children. And I thought, okay, well, whatever she went through, she is obviously capable of coming through it.
Right.
And she was great. I still follow her on Twitter.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Did you ever find, so obviously you're sitting in your therapy sessions, you're talking through your stuff.
Yeah.
And she's helping you immensely. But did you ever walk away from your therapy sessions thinking, man, I wonder about her. I want to ask her this. For example, her finger.
I want to know about her finger.
I want to know about her husband, her family.
I want to know about her finger.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you. They don't tell you those things.
Well, I wonder if you could reach out to her now.
I wonder. It's been some time.
Yeah. And just, let her know how much she impacted you.
Yeah.
And just tell her, this is something I've always been wondering about. And I love how you shared, obviously she's gone through something. I mean, that's losing part of you. Maybe just a little finger.
It's still part of you.
It's still part of you. She's gone through something. And just let her know just the thoughts that you just shared with me.
That's a good
because
thought.
I want you to do that. And then I want you to come to my office next time you're down and tell me.
Like, let me tell you how Jessica is and let me tell you what happened.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you see Jessica?
So I saw her for about 2 years.
Okay.
But I had moved to from San Francisco to DC while I was still seeing her.
Okay.
And we did the FaceTime thing, which worked out for a period of time. But then we got to a place where she just wasn't really helping me anymore. And then with the time zone difference, it just wasn't really working. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I think you've got all the tools to handle things. And I felt pretty good for a while. I have since seen another therapist.
Good. Locally in D.C.
Yeah, locally in D.C. But yeah, I saw her for about 2 years, which is, depending on like what you're dealing with, she thought that I dragged it out a little bit too long, but I was like, no, I need you. And she's like, no, really, you got this. And I'm like, no, don't break up with me.
I know. It's hard. I'm kind of in that position right now with mine where we've gone like maybe 5 or 6 months, but she finally told me at my last session, come back after the holidays, but you've got your tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
And you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, am I perfect? No. Are any of us perfect?
Is anyone going to be perfect?
No. But if we get those tools in our toolbox. So
you know how to use them.
Yes. And I was reading a self-help book last year, and the author in this book says, if I could gift every woman in this world something, it would be to go to therapy. Give him a session of therapy. Introduce therapy to them.
I would like him to expand that to every person.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not just females, clearly.
Females are not the ones.
Her target audience was clearly women.
Okay.
You know what I
All
mean?
right.
It's a little cheesy, but...
Yeah, but if you think about it, women carry a lot of emotional burden, and they take on a lot of a burden for their fathers, their brothers, their cousins, their partners, their friends.
Yes.
That are male, and then males don't go and deal with their issues, and then women are stuck dealing with it.
Exactly.
And so, yes, women should go to therapy, but men can also handle that burden a little bit because they are not free of emotion, free of feelings, or free of hurting people.
Exactly.
But they don't think that. And when I say they, I'm being very general.
Right.
There are very wonderful men out there that have been very introspective and worked on themselves.
Our producer's going like this. He sees a therapist.
And that's great. I mean, like we said,
shame in it.
It's the bravest thing you can do and the best gift that you can give yourself, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
What was the scariest thing for you just about going to therapy? You said that's the bravest thing
Well,
you've
I
done.
was scared that I was going to have to think of you do that stupid thing when you're 13, and you're like, oh, did that ruin my life? And no, it didn't. You were 13, you're stupid,
Yeah. But
I was afraid I was going to have to bring up past details that I didn't want to confront. And it turns out that's actually not how therapy works. Mm-hmm. So therapy really just works on what was your background? What is your template? Mm-hmm. How does your template affect your life? And how can we change your template? It's really about looking forward. It's not about digging up.
Dwelling on the past,
Which is painful.
Right.
It can be painful.
Yeah, you have to confront it at some point,
you do
right?
have to confront
Especially
it.
things that have done some harm.
Yeah.
But it's not dwelling. We're not sticking in the past.
Yeah, you're not pulling everything off the shelves in the closet.
Yeah.
You're tidying them up.
Right.
And putting them in order and getting yourself ready to move forward. But that, I think, was the scariest part because how do you even know how to confront those things?
Right.
How do you even know how to even bring them up?
Right.
And then what's your reality?
Exactly.
Versus your perception.
Yes.
So
this relationship you were in, clearly not pleasant. Your therapist, I'm assuming, helped you get through and talk through some of that.
Well, she helped me realize that his infidelity and his lying had nothing to do with me and was not a reflective on my ability to be loved.
Beautiful.
But also I learned that I have severe vulnerability issues.
Really? Can you expand on that?
And
I ask you that because I'm basically saying, you're telling me you've got vulnerability
and then
issues,
you're asking me to be vulnerable.
You to be vulnerable. So let's test these out here.
Oh, it's so hard though.
Obviously, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, I think that having vulnerability issues is actually very common.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to be
vulnerable. I
had
a hard time actually understanding what vulnerability was and how to recognize vulnerability in practice.
How would you define vulnerability?
I can't. I still cannot. I still struggle with vulnerability.
Okay. That's fair.
But there's a way that you can be honest, and there's a way that you can be raw. Right?
Right.
I can be honest all day long and never let you in on how I feel about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that might be the distinction.
Right. And when you went through your therapy, did you dive into that and kind of gain an understanding of where this may come from?
She would get so. Oh yeah, I know exactly where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah. Just family dynamics.
Yep. I understand that.
Yep.
And it is amazing how impactful a family can be. The family dynamics, your upbringing.
Yeah.
I mean, immediate, extended. Can you share a little bit about your family?
Oh, they're awful. No.
So your dad, where does he live currently?
He lives in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay.
Yep. He lives in Maryland with his partner, Suzanne.
Okay.
She's getting her second hip replaced in March.
Oh, that's no fun.
I know, but then it's going to be great because then she can move.
Yeah. Good. And you get along? How's that dynamic with you?
Yeah. She talks too much, but she's nice.
That's great.
Yeah, she's super nice. So I go over there once in a while. We'll make some dinner and hang out.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's super nice.
Now tell us about your mom.
My mom lives in Florida. She is very involved in the church. It's the Franciscan sect of Catholicism.
Really?
Yes.
And she's pretty devout?
I think she goes to church 8 or 9 days a week.
8 or 9 days. At first I was thinking 8 or 9 hours a day.
Right. No, I think that's Baptist. Baptist on Sunday.
Wow.
No, she's pretty. Yeah, and she
And is she recently converted, or has she always been this religious?
No.
This is a reborn.
I don't know. Since my parents divorced, probably is when she started getting really involved in the church.
Okay.
Yeah. So she does whatever you do when you pray, you teach other people the values of Franciscans, and you hang out with the Franciscan people. And
How are they differentiated from the others? Or you just haven't really been able to dive into it? You just don't really.
I mean, it all seems very Catholic to me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so she's in Florida.
So she's in Florida.
Are you close?
Yeah. She's in downtown St. Pete, and she's got a cute little condo, like right by the water.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I go down there maybe like 4 or 5 times a year, see her, and then my sister's like an hour north, up in like north of Tampa.
And your sister, tell us about her.
I have an older sister. She used to do alumni relations for Johns Hopkins, so she was a super badass.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, she would be like running around the country, like talking to neurosurgeons that went to Johns Hopkins.
You're all very bright, very bright family.
We are, yeah. I mean, my dad and my mom really instilled like how to think in us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's wonderful. They
like,
got to be extremely proud.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
You know what I love about you, Dorothy, is you're very confident.
Yeah.
You're very confident, but you're not cocky.
Oh, thank you.
No,
that's
seriously.
a fine line.
It can be a fine line, but you don't come off as cocky. But I love when you said, yeah, we are. And you're confident in that. And I think that's so refreshing because it's great to acknowledge that.
And yeah, people don't do it enough.
Exactly.
I was really proud of Joan the other day.
Sorry.
Joan's one of our bosses. And I was trying to find a way to say something to her, but I never got a chance to. But somebody in the meeting room repeated something that she had said in another meeting some time ago. And she goes, hold on. That was my idea. I have said that before. That was not your idea. And he goes, oh, yeah. And he acknowledged that. And she goes, I just wanted to point that out. And I was like, good for you for not letting a man take credit for your ideas.
Exactly.
That's probably how you got to be a CMO.
Exactly.
You know? And she didn't do it in like a defensive, I'm upset kind of way.
Right. There's some passion there.
I guess
passion.
I was just really, like, it was a
like
really
that.
good
Absolutely.
moment.
And good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. And we're seeing, I feel like nowadays in society, obviously with the Me Too movement, we're starting to see more of that from women and females. And
seeing women build up other women.
Yes. Now talk to me about your brother.
Oh, I have a twin brother.
Okay.
He is 2 minutes younger than me.
2 minutes, so you're the older sister.
Do
you rub that in his face a lot?
Okay, so listen, I used to rub that into his face. Oh, I'm older than you. It's my birthday, and it's not your birthday yet. You have to wait 2 minutes. And then we got older. And now he's like, haha, I'm younger than you. You're old. I'm like, okay.
I understand that.
Yep, this was going to happen.
But you know what? That's a great thing. I'm married to a man 3.5 years younger than me.
Okay.
When I first started dating him and got married, I had a little bit of a complex with that because I was always attracted to older men. Now I love it because I go by his age. We're not my age. We are his age. It's our collective age, okay? So I love it.
That's too funny.
Okay,
that's
back
funny.
to your twin. 2 minutes younger than you.
Yeah.
Where does he live?
He lives in Long Beach.
Now, okay. So do you have that very strong twin bond that you hear? I always dreamt of having a twin growing up, okay?
I think that people don't really understand that twins are merely siblings that shared a womb.
Okay.
I mean, because if you think about the biology, and because he's a boy and I'm a girl.
Right.
My mom had 2 eggs come down at the same time that got fertilized by 2 separate sperm.
Yeah.
It could have happened at separate moments or at the same moment. It happened at the same moment. And we just shared a room that was my mother's stomach. So
that's a good point.
So, what I do think is that we have the shared experiences, where we went through similar things at the same time, where my sister didn't because she was older.
Right.
But I also think that that's common for siblings who are close to the same age, like a year apart.
Right. Would you say you tend to confide more in him?
No, I'm closer with my sister.
Oh, closer with your sister.
Definitely closer with my sister. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm closer with my sister.
How much older is your sister?
Not quite 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But, my sister and I talk on the phone. We share recipes.
Yeah.
We talk about our childhood together.
Right.
Figure out what happened.
And do you vent a lot?
Well, I think that that's healthy.
Yeah.
So I actually have a girlfriend recently who was venting about her own sister over a text message with a childhood friend, and her sister got into her phone and read them and then got mad at her. And she was like, well, you went into my phone. This wasn't like, it's not like I was in the room bitching about you. You were.
Right.
And I actually think that it is very healthy to get out your frustrations and your emotions. And if you need to talk to a person about that, then you should, because you don't want to pent up all that frustration and anger and resentment and then be confronted with that person.
Exactly.
Because that's when it comes out, or you project, or, you know. So I don't know about the interfamily gossip, because I don't think that's a healthy dynamic either.
Exactly.
Yep. So, you know, we want to promote love and harmony.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, your family, they're your closest people, you know, and you just, it's hard. I have a much larger family. And so I'm 6 of 7 kids.
That's insane.
And all of us are married. And
That's
all of us
also
have
insane.
kids.
Oh my gosh.
So, but I would say for the most part, we all truly love each other.
Do you know all their names?
Oh, absolutely. I'm insane. I know all their birthdays and probably all their phone numbers by memory. Here's the deal. I suck at math. I was never good at math. I always struggled. But I can memorize any phone number. You give me a phone number, I'll have it memorized in a second.
That's your talent.
I can memorize birthdays, but when it comes to math, I'm horrible.
Okay. But that's it. I think that's different logic.
Yeah, it's just weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How often do you see your twin?
Not actually that often, because he lives in California.
Yeah.
We saw each other over Christmas, and we saw each other last January. We both went to Florida to go to Monster Jam.
Nice.
With my sister and her husband. Every year they throw a tailgate party for Monster Jam.
Very fun. That's awesome.
So about once or twice a year.
What does he do?
He owns a franchise. He owns a house painting franchise.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I don't know. He knows about, if you want to talk about paint color, I'm pretty sure he's your guy.
He's your guy. Okay. One thing I always love to hear about when you come into my office and we do our catch up every month or two or whenever, all your adventures.
Oh, yeah.
You are always bouncing around, traveling here, there, and everywhere.
I know.
And I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite trip to date?
Oh, goodness. Maybe Costa Rica, because it was beautiful. I would go back to Costa Rica in a heartbeat.
And who did you go with?
My friend Erica.
Okay.
We travel. Erica's an interesting friend because when I met her the same day I met my ex-boyfriend, because they used to be best friends.
This is the ex-boyfriend in California.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Ryan and I started dating, and Erica and I did not get along because, you know, weird dynamics. They were best friends. Now I'm, you know.
Right.
And
jealousy, a little bit of jealousy there.
I don't know if it was actual jealousy. I think it was just a change in dynamic.
Yeah, you just threw it off a little bit.
Yeah.
You came in and changed it.
Because it's not like we didn't hang out. It's not like we hated each other. It's just
right.
We didn't love each other.
Okay.
And then she moved to Taiwan, and I was like, good riddance.
Why did she go to Taiwan?
Because her boyfriend at the time was from Taiwan. He wanted to go back home. And she was like, why not? I have a chance to move to Taiwan.
Yeah.
They broke up like as soon as they got to Taiwan. But she stayed for 2 years, which I thought was really awesome, because she very easily could have packed her stuff back up and come back to San Francisco. But, I mean, because they broke up within 3 months of moving.
Wow.
And no, she found herself an apartment. She got herself a job. She made herself some friends. And she stayed for 2 years, and she loved it.
Good for her.
And by the time she came back, X and I had already broken up. He had moved out. And she calls me, and she's like, we should hang out. And I'm like, no, we are not friends. And also, I heard through the rumor mill that she and him were looking for an apartment together. And I'm like, also, you're going to move in with my ex. Like, bye. And so I did end up hanging out with her. And she said one of the nicest things to me that anyone's ever said. She said, you know, I was gone for 2 years and, you know, kept in touch with some people, but, you know, you don't know the day-to-day. And now I'm back, and I'm hanging out with all my old friends, and so few of them have actually grown and changed, and you have. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
That
Especially
is a
because San
compliment.
Francisco's got this Peter Pan syndrome. Like, nobody wants to grow up. Every day's the same. And Yeah, so anyway, we grew really close. She went to grad school, and she was working and in grad school. And a lot of her friends didn't seem to understand the stress. And I was like, look, I got you. Saturday, you're going to be working all day. I'm going to come over with some wine. We're going to drink some wine and like relax. And we bonded over that. And then I moved to DC, and she was like, oh, I can't believe you moved. We became so close. So she was like, let's go to Costa Rica for Christmas. And I was like, okay, let's go. And then I got there, and I'm like, why did I think this was a good idea? But we had a blast. And so then we went to Belize the next year and Nicaragua the following year. And this past Thanksgiving went to Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that tradition.
Yeah, it's a nice tradition.
That is wonderful. Do you have plans for a trip this year?
Not yet. Not yet. I mean, the world's our oyster, right?
Absolutely.
And like we were gonna like conquer Central America, but between the two of us, we've been to all the countries. I don't want to go back to Panama. She doesn't want to go back to Guatemala. So it's like, yeah, let's move on and go somewhere else.
Europe, Australia,
like,
Africa.
Who knows?
You
We
got
could go.
it.
I would love to go to Africa.
Yeah, I did have the chance to go to South Africa.
You did?
I loved it.
Oh my God,
yes.
tell me everything. Did you pet elephants?
I did not pet elephants.
I don't think they have a lot of them in South Africa.
But I did see elephants in South Africa.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Saw a lot of awesome wildlife. Going back, because I feel like it's not always, at least in my life, that you get a compliment that sticks with you. And you always, like when you see that person, you remember, oh man, they made me feel good because they said that.
Yeah.
So this is, and I've had a couple of those,
Yeah.
but not a lot of them. And I have a lot of people say nice things to me, but I'm just saying like compliments that truly mean a lot and stick with you. So this one about your friend telling you how impressed she was that you had changed over those 2 years. Can I ask, were those the 2 years that you were kind of going through the therapy and doing a lot of self-reflection and self-improvement?
Well, no, I'm sorry. No, that's not true because that was just the...
Tell me why do you think she saw that change? Like, what do you think it was that she saw in you?
I think what she saw was, okay, so San Francisco's got this really weird thing where it's like always like between 50 and 70 degrees every single day, 365 days a year. Like it doesn't rain, it doesn't snow, it doesn't get hot. So you don't really feel the seasons changing. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're like, it's October. But you didn't notice.
Right.
Right? And because of it, people don't have that timestamp, which doesn't give them a lot of impetus to get things done. And Google it. There are articles about San Francisco Peter Pan syndrome.
Really?
But people just don't want to grow up or they don't notice that time is passing. And so there's a lot of stagnant.
Okay.
I mean, maybe it's changed with Silicon Valley, but it's very much a thing. And so she was gone for 2 years and then she comes back and she sees people hanging out at the same bars, working the same job, having the same after school activities, dating the same people. And they just seem the same. Mm-hmm. And in the time that she was gone, I had left Ryan. I had started running and training for half marathons. I was still in the same job. I think maybe I had gotten a promotion, but I wasn't doing the same things.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like working towards something, which mostly was my half marathons, but still, that's a goal.
See, and this takes me back. I remember when you were training for the marathons.
Oh God,
like
right?
I remember these days.
Yeah. So that was that time.
Wow. That had to have felt so good.
Oh my God, I cried.
Talk to me about the whole process. What drove you to run a half marathon?
My brother, because he lived in LA and he used to come up and spend Thanksgiving with my ex and me. Mm-hmm. But then when we broke up, his relationship with his now wife was really starting to get serious. And I was like, well, where am I going to go for Thanksgiving? And he was like, oh, come on down to LA. But if you come down to LA, you have to run the turkey trot with us. And I was like, I don't run. And he's like, well, you have 10 weeks to figure it out.
And how long was the turkey trot? Was it just a 5K or just like...
it was a 10K. He's like,
oh, wow,
just run 6 miles. And I'm like, no, remember couch to 5K, not couch to a million K.
Yeah, I was going to say, for not ever having run a race to go to a 10K,
yeah.
that's pretty aggressive.
So I went to, DSW or something and bought some shoes. Ran a 15-minute mile my first day. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's walking. I'm pretty sure that's called speed walking and not running.
That's gotta beat my mile.
But then I kept doing it, And then I did the 10K and it felt good. And San Francisco is always between 50 and 70 degrees. So you can run year round and not die.
Yes.
And so then I signed up for my first half marathon. It was the San Francisco Half Marathon, and it must have been in the summer, so not quite a year. And so I just started, I would get up on Saturday and I would run, and it was really therapeutic. I would put on like Britney Spears, Rihanna, Katy Perry, like Kesha, some like poppy beat music, and space out or think of choreographed dances to the songs, because I would very much like to be a dancer, but I'm not. And I sometimes just like work through my anger and my emotions with my ex and going through that. And I found it very therapeutic. And it's interesting because I still run, and I'm in a run club on Monday nights. And some friends that I've made who come to run club are like, oh, this sucks. I hate running. And I'm like, you just have to associate it with something positive or you're not going to like it. Mm-hmm. And I associate it with something positive, something that made me feel better and something that's therapeutic. And, I can get in the, if I've had a really bad day or I'm feeling frustrated, just get up and go on a run. And then you come back and your world's changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I've heard that from a lot of people, and I've never been able to get into it, but I feel like I've never really given it a fair shot.
Well, and it's also hard. It's hard on your body.
Yeah.
It's not always fun. You don't always come back feeling like you're on top of the world.
Right.
You hurt.
Yeah.
So, it's not.
But mentally, it is.
But mentally, it's
rewarding.
A good cleanser for me.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I really enjoy it.
Are you currently running now?
Yeah. I'm in a run club on Monday nights.
Fun.
And my neighbor, who I'm pretty close with, he went through a breakup about a year ago, and he was not exhibiting healthy behavior. And, being supportive, as you do with people you love. But one day I was like, can we just go on a run? Just go running. And he's like, I'm not a runner. And I'm like, let's go. And now he runs. He's got all his gear now. He got new running shoes and the tights and the buds and the armband. And, I'll be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to go on a run? Or,
that's so
it's 50 degrees today. Let's go running before it gets cold.
That is so funny because I'm sitting here thinking 50 degrees here. That's crazy.
That's great weather to run in. I know. I'm not
and do you run? So you're in DC. Do you run down by the mall?
You run down by the mall past the White House.
Oh, how neat.
It's so cool. I mean, regardless of your feelings of who was in the White House, it's just really amazing to be like, I'm just going on a jog, and there's the Washington Monument right there.
Exactly.
There's the ellipses.
Right.
There's amazing. The Marine outside,
What a wonderful place to live.
It's so cool. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's, it's got its issues, but you're at the place where it's all happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, you mentioned dance. You want to be a dancer.
Oh my gosh.
You said you can't. Dorothy, if anybody can do something new, it's you.
So I took dance lessons.
Okay.
I took dance lessons on Wednesday, hip-hop dance lessons for about a year on Wednesday nights. And I'm just not good at it.
You don't feel the rhythm, or
I'm
just
I need to look at my feet. I don't know where my feet are going. I don't have that kind of control. I'm very clumsy.
Well, have you thought about maybe doing a different type of dance? Or you
possible.
just
no? I just want to be Beyonce's backup dancer. Okay.
You know what? You just keep having those dance parties in your kitchen.
I'll just have it in my head while I'm running. But I did try.
Can you do the worm?
No, I can't do anything. I can't do anything.
If you could be Beyonce's backup dancer, you just have this magical power, and you have the ability automatically.
I would also have
dance.
Abs for days.
Well, what if you could be her backup dancer to one song? So you get one shot.
Formation.
Girl. Formation. Okay.
Yeah.
And you
it's a really good
get
song.
Up there and you just go to town.
Okay, ladies.
Have you seen Beyonce in concert?
No, I have not.
I haven't either. Mm-mm. She was just here not too long ago.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, I've seen Britney Spears a few times, but not Beyonce.
I'm sure she puts on a good show. Talk to me. You mentioned earlier you're a researcher.
Yes. My job is to look shit up.
To look it up. Fact find.
Yes, that's what I do.
I said if earlier before we started the podcast, I had told you, if we had the fact checking segment like Dax Shepard does, this is my girl.
Yep.
Dorothy. Okay, so tell me about your current job, what you do, and then how you got into it.
Okay, so my current job is to do competitive and market research to drive strategy. Mm-hmm. So find out what our competitors are doing, find out what is happening in the market, labor, industry, jobs, and use that to figure out what programs we want to offer and where. And then also because we are a highly regulated institution, highly regulated industry, we need to make sure everything we put out externally is accurate at the time that you make the claim, adequately substantiated. So someone says, I want to make the claim that this is happening. And I say, okay, I'll find the fact, make sure it's a relevant resource, document it. And that way, when someone says, we think you're lying, we have the documentation to say, actually, we're not lying. You cannot sue us.
Yeah. Here's the facts.
Here's the facts.
Research. Are you satisfied? I mean, do you have a lot of passion in research? I mean, what you're doing?
I just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really like the CMO has said on multiple occasions, if anyone can find it, Dorothy can. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go down the rabbit hole. And I know when to stop. I know when you can't find it. Mm-hmm. But if it is out there,
you're going to
find it. I'm going to do my best to find it.
Do you feel like this is a trait you were born with? I mean, looking back on your childhood,
I should have been a detective. I 100% should have followed in my father's
footsteps.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely should have just gone and opened up a detective agency.
It's not too late.
I know it is not.
When the time comes for a career change, if you ever find the need, you would be a good detective.
You'll see me hunched down in my car with my camera. Catching that person lifting the pot because they're, So.
Have you ever had to do some market research on any, and not even in this particular job that you're in, but on any particular topic that you kind of dreaded because down deep, you already pretty much knew the answer, right? And it wasn't going to be an answer that you wanted to hear or see. Have you ever been confronted with such a thing?
I don't think that's... I think that's a mindset that is that has to do with your professionality, right?
Right.
I mean, in the end, it doesn't actually matter what the answer is as long as the answer is factual. Right?
Absolutely.
I have definitely been put in situations where people have wanted me to find something to support a certain answer. And I'm like, yeah, but the rest of the facts actually don't. You can't cherry pick these data.
Right.
But no, I don't think there's anything that I've been so emotionally involved in.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You're able to remove yourself emotionally from.
Yeah, because it's facts.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Not everything, but a lot of things are very black and white.
If you choose to look at them like that, you can also choose to skew things.
There's a lot of gray area.
Yes, absolutely. So
very neat.
No, I think that's more of a professional decision to look at it that way. I mean, there's a lot of passionate people about their jobs. So if they want to see something, they're going to try and make it happen.
Okay. If you could research anything for anyone.
Oh, I would be Kellyanne Conway's assistant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think she's brilliant. I think she's...
That just
her
came
tenacity.
Out. That just about...
Oh, listen.
Shocked me.
I already have this planned out.
Okay, let's
First of all, her husband and I would be best friends because I align with his political
Yes, and I
viewpoints.
love that he does not hold back.
He does not hold back. So when we go over for dinner with her 15,000 children and her husband, she'll roll her eyes and he and I will talk about politics. I don't think I wish she had a better moral compass.
Okay.
But I admire her tenacity. She's not like Sarah, where Sarah's just I was told to do this and now I have to ramble on and tell you all lies.
And this is Sarah Sanders for those listening that are not aware.
Sarah Sanders Huckabee. Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah,
I don't know. She is no, listen. I have something I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell it, and I'm going to be confident so that you all think that I'm not lying. And she's totally lying or skewing it.
Right. So
I would be so great and be like, nah, Kelly, here's the facts. And I'd be like, you lied again. Here's the fact. I would have so much work to do.
You would. You'd definitely
and then
be
try and make her
full-time there.
honest.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's a fascinating dynamic, Kelly and her husband.
It's so fascinating.
But it seems to work for him. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, obviously we don't know what it's like behind closed doors, but
Right,
I wonder if they're that kind of, where they're in a partnership and less of a romantic relationship, which I think
it's a common theme in the political world with a lot of these
the partnership,
high-powered.
And
what's that?
All marriages.
All marriage, to an extent.
and they last.
Yeah.
a lot longer than the
Right.
dopamine infused romantic relationships.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Do you mind me asking, are you in a relationship currently?
I have a partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive in or no?
It's a less than traditional relationship.
In what way?
Well, he's polyamorous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Define that for listeners that are not familiar.
He has so much love to give that he loves so many other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a very beautiful way to describe that.
Yeah. It's touchy. It's not something that's very widely accepted.
Right.
And it's really hard to explain to people.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain. And it's very hard to explain to people why I am with him because, you deserve someone who's going to be monogamous or who's going to, do all these traditional things. And I'm like,
Right.
I also deserve someone who's going to respect me, support me, love me, and be honest with me. And he has all of those things.
And how do you feel being with him?
I feel wonderful being with him.
And would you say this is hard? It's hard for you?
Listen, it has been a journey.
Okay.
Lots of learning lessons, lots of conversations, lots of reading about relationship, lots of assessing what my personal goals in a relationship are, lots of figuring out what a partner is and what love is. And I think one of the things that people, they get this Cinderella view of a relationship and you don't need saving and love doesn't fix everything.
You're absolutely right.
And one person is not going to fulfill all your needs. So if you are going home to the same person and expecting them to rub your feet and comb your hair and tell you you're pretty and cook you a meal and hug you at night and let you complain about, this person and no.
Are you going to get that all
You
at
go
the
get a
same
pedicure.
time?
You go to the salon. You talk to your girlfriends.
Yeah.
You have, you don't drag your partner to every party you go to or every event you go to.
You're right. It is amazing that you do rely on so many people for so many different things.
But then people couple up and they're like, oh, none of y'all matter because it's just this person. And that doesn't work and it's such a burden.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. It's just a whole different concept.
It's a whole different way of thinking about relationships. And it's really, really hard for people to wrap their heads around that.
Right. Do you mind me asking, is he married? Or?
He's not.
Okay.
No.
And then how has you said it's hard to explain to people. Do you feel obligated to explain this to people? Is it anybody's business?
Well, no, but then people ask you and you're like, well, yeah, I want to tell people about him. I think he's an amazing, wonderful person.
And that's great.
And I'm so happy he's part of my life.
That's great. You're not ashamed of it.
Right. But then people ask things like, well, how long have you been dating? Well, that's kind of complicated because we met like 2.5 years ago, but we haven't really been seeing each other till earlier last year.
Where did you meet?
Actually, on an online dating site.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And it was really fun because we met up for coffee one day. And then our second date, we went and rode bikes and made up rap songs.
Oh, very fun.
And it was super fun. And then I decided I didn't like him. And I went home and he called me on the telephone. And he was like, hey, I just wanted to have that adult conversation and see where things are going. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't really want to make out with you. But I think you're nice. And he was like, okay, I'm really glad I called. But then we kept in touch.
Nice.
I saw each other once in a while.
Really quickly, and pause on this because I want it. Can you just do a little rap for us?
Nope. Listen, listen. I do not have a lot of talents. I just do not. I do not have a lot of talent.
Okay, going back to that, I had to ask the question. Okay,
Yeah. No.
So you have the conversation.
Then we just, we kept in touch.
Okay,
And we'd meet up once in a while for a drink or something, and then one day I had tickets to this show. I had tickets to a show and it got canceled or like postponed, and then the person I was supposed to go with couldn't come with me, so I randomly was like, "Hey, do you want to come to this show with me?" And I don't know, things were
just kind of.
It was kind of different. It was fun.
Interesting.
So yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think it was different?
I think that both of us had. I had been back to therapy, and I think that he had done a lot of introspection about what he wants in life, which led him to, this conclusion about how to approach relationships. And I think that having that better sense of what you want and the honesty.
Yeah.
No man that I've been romantic with has ever been as honest with me as he has. And I'm telling you, like, it's awkward because we're not used to people just being honest.
Yeah.
But it means so much more, and it's so much easier to deal with.
Well, and you just have a level of trust, I would imagine, that you've never had before.
Right. Yeah, I don't like sit in bed wondering, like, does he hate me right now?
Right. How often would you say you see him?
Like once a week, probably.
Okay.
Which actually, when you think about it, works out really well for me because I got run club, I got bocce.
Busy lady.
I'm out of town.
You travel all the time.
I travel. Yeah. And then you don't, I can go do my own things and not feel guilty that I'm like leaving my partner.
Right.
Because my partner has things to do himself.
Yeah.
So he's not.
And it's interesting because you use the word partner versus boyfriend.
Right. Because he really, it also triggers up when people are like, oh, well, why don't you bring your boyfriend to my party?
Right.
I'm like, because my boyfriend doesn't want to come to this party.
Yeah.
He would like to do whatever he would like to do.
Exactly. Has he met any of your family? And does your family have it take issue
No,
with this?
He's not met my family. Some family members are a little less understanding, but not judgmental.
Oh, good.
Right?
That's great.
Yeah. It's a little hard to wrap your head around these things.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. To not be understanding and not be judgmental.
Right.
I feel like that's a fine line.
Yeah. And maybe they are judgmental and they're just not verbal about it. I do get a lot of spinster shaming.
They're supportive of you.
I wouldn't go as far to say supportive.
Okay,
they're not like, go on, girl, and live this. No.
Okay, you said spinster shaming.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that?
Absolutely. I'm 36 years old.
Girl, you are younger than me.
But you are married and I'm not.
That's true. But do you want to be married at some point?
I do not.
I was going to say probably not, just based off of
it's not that like I'm like, oh, I'll never get married. It's just that's not my goal in life.
It's okay. That's not something you aspire to. No. It's not something you feel like you're missing out on.
Nope.
But you would be open to it.
Yeah, like if
potentially,
it worked,
yeah, if the right one came along, absolutely.
Yeah. But definitely not trying to get married and have babies.
What would you say is your ultimate goal in life?
I just want to be happy.
Happiness.
I just want to look at my life and be like, I like what I do. I feel like I have value in the world. I'm surrounded by people I love and who love me back. Mm-hmm. And I love myself.
That is key. I love that last part. You love yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's so important. And it
so
can be hard to do.
It's hard.
Absolutely.
It's hard to love yourself every single day. So then how would you get married and love someone else every day?
Sometimes it's easier to love someone else than yourself.
That's true.
Like I was saying earlier, a lot of times we tend to project our issues or our problems onto others. And it could be the same thing with love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Because I would say most of us are our worst critics, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Because we know all of the details.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, I probably love my husband a hell of a lot more than I love myself. I don't know if I really do, but I love him so much. But it's so important.
And this goes back to the different types of love that you have.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That is so true. But I always say, if you are not happy and content with yourself, and if you don't love yourself, there's no way in hell you're going to love truly, and you're going to be able to have a successful marriage or partnership.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable with yourself and love yourself.
Yeah.
And be happy with yourself.
Yeah. And I just think that's a really good place to be in life.
Yeah. Well, I always feel like when I see you, you just always have a little extra pep in your step. And I feel like looking, from an outsider looking at you, it seems like you're a pretty content, happy person.
Well, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
But I think in general, like, I enjoy being around people. Mm-hmm. I enjoy relating to people. One of the things I really like about being in Phoenix is connecting with everybody after not seeing them for a month, and just like letting them confide in me, or, just kind of updating, and like, that intimacy, even, that professional intimacy, if you will.
You're like the walking therapist going around the office.
Unfortunately, I do feel like that sometimes, but I also really like connecting with people. And so I guess I kind of thrive off of that, because it goes back to like feeling valued, right? Or feeling like you have and give value.
Right.
That's a good way to give value to somebody, is to be there for them and supportive. And it's amazing. And I learned this from my old boss, Natasha. All you have to do the first time you meet someone is find out something. They have a daughter. They have a dog. Their favorite place to vacation is Greece.
Right.
And the next time you see them, be like, oh, last time you told me about your dog, you said.
Yeah.
How? And they're like, oh my God, you
remembered.
You care.
Yes.
It makes them
listened.
feel like you care. And all of a sudden, they love you just a little bit more.
Right.
Yep. And then, because you know that something about them, you love them a little bit more too.
Exactly.
So now you've created this relationship.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing and how many people you can have that with.
Yeah.
If you just put in a little bit of effort.
And I felt that. I've felt that with you just over the last 7 years. And so you have that gift.
Yeah.
One last question.
Okay.
Who would you say is the most influential person in your life, or who has been?
Ooh, that's hard, because I would say my dad, from an education perspective. I would say my former boss, because she's been a fantastic mentor. I always used to joke that I learned everything I know from my sister. So
kind of an
my
educational, a professional, and just life lessons.
Yeah, probably.
That's
definitely
beautiful.
not one person.
That's
Maybe I'm polyamorous. I don't know.
I'm going to take it one step further and dive in a little deeper.
Okay.
One, if you could, I know it's going to be hard because you've known your sister your whole life and you've been learning from her your whole life. One solid lesson that she has taught you, that you've carried with you.
You're the most important person in your life.
Love it.
Yep. And only loving, never judging.
Only loving, never judging, and you're the most important person in your life.
You are. You're the most important person in your life. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. If you don't set your boundaries, you can't take care of yourself.
You're absolutely right. That's beautiful.
Yep.
That is a very beautiful way to end this.
Yeah.
It has been a delight having you, Dorothy.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming in. Before we end, is there any... Oh, you've been fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to touch on or mention?
No, I just feel like I now have to go back to therapy and address some issues.
Oh, well,
No, I mean, like, we really... I actually didn't anticipate it revealing that many intimate details about my life.
But you know what I love about you? You're so raw and organic on this, and you were vulnerable, believe it or not.
Apparently I've learned.
You were vulnerable. But again, I'll reemphasize this. I love your confidence. I love your confidence, and I think that can wear off on people, and it's a beautiful thing.
And it's abrasive sometimes, too. So I'm glad you enjoy it.
No, I do. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
I appreciate it.
All right, Jeff, we are done.
Okay.